G'day guys, Rick here from Perth Bullion Exchange, perthbullion.com.au, and just for our educational video this week, we thought we'd just give a brief sort of recap of some world events which are influencing metals at the moment. For those of you that might not be following it closely, we thought we'd sort of, conglomerate them into one position. So, I mean, none of this is financial advice, it's just our take and obviously some of the information we've read or heard, and just trying to get it in one spot where people can sort of, make a bit more of a educated decision around maybe ramping up or down ramping the metals purchases. So there's been a few things in the last couple of weeks since we did a video, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, which we sort of talked about metals prices and where they might be going to the year end. You can watch, if you haven't watched that one, you can find it on our YouTube channel under, I think it's Price Predictions, the video title. So there's a few things from that are sort of playing out now, which are probably happening a little bit earlier than what I anticipated. But nonetheless, they're moving in the same direction. So I think a lot of that's sort of playing out as we expected, but probably a little bit earlier. So one of the big ones being iron ore price up around over 110 now on the futures market. So that, along with the US rate cuts, obviously buoyed the Australian dollar pretty good, and it took a bit of a hit in the last few days just with some US jobs data. So for those of you who might have noticed, since Friday last week, there's been a bit of a downtrend in the metals prices, and that's just mostly been around, well, especially in US terms, mostly been around the jobs data that came out of the US, which has been putting some downward pressure on precious metals. There's also been a little bit last week, as a few of you might have noticed, the prices sort of were hitting some all-time highs, and that's mostly in regards to the conflict in the Middle East, like sort of accelerating and ramping up with Iran and Israel striking directly at each other. So, that's sort of pushing metals up, and now we've obviously had the US jobs data sort of pushing them down a little bit. So I think, just as my own opinion, I guess, there's going to be a bit of sideways trading, I think, in the precious metals for the next 4 to 6 weeks. I don't think anything too exciting is going to come out of any of the key data events coming up towards the end of the year. Most people are saying now the US is probably going to do a 0.25% rate cut the next meeting, which is probably priced into the market at this point. So unless some pretty negative data comes out in the US, which prompts them to sort of cut it by 50 basis points, I think it will probably get some sideways action in the metals from here through until sort of maybe November. I think there's a few things happening, and I think towards the back end of the year we'll probably start to see a bit more volatility in the market. But I think for the time being it's probably going to be pretty stable before it starts to trend upwards towards the end of the year. And then, as we sort of said in our price prediction video, I think as we roll into next year, the Aussie dollar will really come off pretty significantly. It has dropped a little bit, but it's really still just consolidating gains it's already made, and most people are sort of saying it'll probably do a run again towards the end of the year. Again, not financial advice, but once it does that run, I think that'll sort of be maybe, and I don't know for certain, nobody does, but maybe that'll be the last sort of real opportunity to pick up precious metals pretty cheaply in Australian dollar terms before we see our next sort of leg up. So if you like these sorts of videos, please give us a like and a follow below, so we can sort of cater what people are after as far as information goes. We're thinking about potentially doing a bit of maybe a live stream sort of catch up where we can discuss some of this stuff in a bit more depth, I suppose, with a bit of audience engagement, so people can ask questions that are relevant to the topic and get some answers live. So if that's something you're interested in, by all means, let us know in the comments. We're sort of catering to the audience, I suppose. So if it is something you want, then by all means say so, and we'll prioritise that in upcoming videos. But otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all next week.